Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Sayyidina wa habibina wa syafi'ina wa nuri qulubina wa qurrati a'yunina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Nawaina ta'alluma wa ta'alim wa tadhakkura wa tazkir wa naf'a wa intifa' wa ifada wa istifadah wal hasa ala tamassuki bi kitabillahi wa sunnati rasulih sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam wa du'a ila al-huda wa dalala 'ala al-khair ibtigha'a wajhillah wa mardatihi wa qurbi wa thawabihi subhanahu wa ta'ala ma'a lutfin wa 'afiyatin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma inna nas'aluka 'ilman ladunni mashraba safiyal hani ya wahhab ya ghani. Allahumma inna nas'aluka 'ilman ladunni wa mashraba safiyal hani ya wahhab ya ghani. Allahumma inna nas'aluka 'ilman ladunni wa mashraba safiyal hani ya wahhab ya ghani. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amin. Alhamdulillah. So last week we began the chapter on tayammum. So probably for this lesson, for these exams, I want to put it in actually. But I'll see how if I can finish the chapter, then we can put the entire chapter into the exams. Otherwise, I'll put it to the next paper, inshallah. So last week we went into the definition of tayammum. It's a revision. We went into the first part of tayammum, which is, so basically tayammum is done when water is unable to be used. Okay, when there's an inability to use water. And so last week I mentioned there are several ways by which water cannot be used. Either, so all of the reasons for tayammum fall under this one principle: water cannot be used. Okay, all of it. So you see here, when it says it's permissible from dry ablution if water is unavailable, cold temperature, or unwell, all of them under one umbrella, which is water cannot be used. So either by not being able to find water, or the water is too cold or too hot, or there is something on the skin that gets worse with the application of water. Alright, so it's another one, or the water is needed to sustain the life of a haywan muhtarim. Haywan muhtarim is basically an animal or a living being whereby the life of this living being is sacred, which basically is all living beings except there are 6, right? And 2 are animals and 4 are human beings. Right? The 6 are swine, right? Swine, rabbit dogs, right? So that they have like an illness on their, I don't know what, rabbit dogs. And the 4 human beings are murtad, tariq as-salah, right? The murtad, right? The one who has left the religion, the one who left the prayer, the adulterer, and zani al-muhsin is called in Arabic. And the 4th one is kafir al-harbi, right? It is a kafir at war with the Muslims. Why these 4? Because these 4 have capital punishment on them. Okay, they have capital punishment on them. Their lives are not secret, right? They are to be killed, right? So if they are going to die out of thirst, you do your wudu with water. You don't give them the water to drink, right? Unless you taubat lah. And the guy was like, I mean, think about it. Like if someone was going to die of thirst and they refuse to pray, then you're like, but you tariq as-salah. But again, as we mentioned last week, it is on the qadi of the Muslim ummah to decide. So you can't like, hey, you don't pray, I'm not giving you water, go and die. I mean, you can't say that to somebody. Okay, the qadi has to say it. Okay, that means the capital punishment is in place on these people. Okay, so last week I mentioned this. So the first reason as to why water is unable to be used is because there's no water. So now comes the question: when can I decide that I don't have water? Okay, when? How far must I search before I can conclude I don't have water? So now comes this entire part of the first page as I went through it, right? Which is whether you know for certain that there is water. So we mentioned, so to do a summary of this, right? So I'm going to put on the share the whiteboard, and I hope you all do it in this way. Okay, so tayammum. Okay, tayammum. Reasons for tayammum. Right, reasons for tayammum. Okay. First one, no water. Right? And no water are on levels. First level, you are certain no water. Certain, for sure, without any doubt whatsoever, there is no water. I know. You say, I confirm, no water at all. For as far as I can see, there is no water. Don't have to search. Okay, so if you have full yaqeen that there is no water, no need to search. Okay, no need to search. Second, you doubt, right, that there is water. You think that there is water, right? You assume that there is water. So they're on levels. One is shak. I doubt that there's water, but I'm not 100% certain. I think there is water. Possible, 50%. I assume there's water somewhere. Okay, these are the statements. So if you doubt, think, or assume, then you have to search. Any li ماذا للقرب. You have to count. You have to غوث لحد no, not قرب, but غوث حد الغوث, right? Which is basically in your book, how many meters they put, right? حد الغوث basically means when you shout, your voice can reach there. That's why it's called حد الغوث. When you say help, so as far as your help can reach, that is called the distance of غوث. Okay, you say help, because غوث means to seek help, right? So in your book it says 150 meters, kan? Around there, right? In your book it says 150, approximately 150 meters. So the distance as far as your voice can reach. Okay, 150 meters. You must search. All right. So 150 meters. Front, back, left, and right. Must search. Up and down if you happen to be in a building. Okay, you need to also search up and search down. Okay, so if you're in a HDB and you're like, I have no water in my house, and you're like, okay, do I decide tayammum right now? No, you don't decide the tayammum, but you have to search 150 meters in circumference around you. Search for water. Okay, must go and search. Then it makes it hard, mashallah. If you see your house, water is cut off. You can't just go and tayammum, to go and, at least there's a shop nearby, right? You can buy water from the shop. At least you go down and buy water, which makes sense. Because you're not supposed to just decide no water. You're supposed to actually put in effort to see if there's really no water. And the third one, right, is basically certain that water is available, right? So certain got water. Right, but far. So must I go there? Comes the question. These are all valid questions, right? So I have no water right now with me. Someone told me next town got water. How far is the town? Right, it's in about 5 miles. 5 miles. Right, the town is 5 miles away. Must I go and search for the water there? I'm certain there is water there. Certain. Must I go and search? Answer is, if it's beyond haddul qurb, you don't have to go. حد القرب, right? What is حد القرب? They put somewhere near حد القرب. Right, so حد القرب فقدره بعضهم بغلوة سهم. One is حد الغوث. Right, if certain, there is 6,000 steps. That's حد القرب. That means it's counted to be near. Okay, near. So if you are certain there's water, if the water is within 6,000 steps, then you must go and get the water, but only if you are certain that there is water there. If you assume there's water there, you don't have to go. But if you're very certain there's water there, then you must go and search for the water. So I hope the one is this is a summary of what we did last week. The reason why I'm doing this again is because if it's the first time you're seeing this, it can just go past you. And so what just happened here, right? And it takes some time before, in going through it a few times, before you actually get it, right? Why they talk about this certain, doubt, think, assume is waham, tawahama, and think is zanna, and doubt is shakka, right? Every word in the Arabic they will speak about it, right? And then tayaqqana, wujud al-ma, they know water is there, kata. Okay, going back to Muqaddimah. Naam. So that's then goes back to your own certainty in that person lah. So if so that it does go back. So if you think, you assume he's right, but if you're like, no, I'm sure he's right. He just came from that direction. That kind of thing, okay? Or the person might say, I'm pretty sure there's water over there, and that person himself says, but I'm not 100%. So then you're yakin, based on your yakin. If you're complete yakin, you must go. And you ask him, how far? How far? Then he says, is this over the mountain? Is it 6,000 steps? And you ask him, and you're like, how I know? Whether it's 6,000 steps or not, right? And then it's about over the mountain. Or they say that over the mountain there's a lake over the mountain. You're like, how far is that? Basically, if you take 6,000 steps and you find no water, tayammum. Where you're at, tayammum. Right, because you have taken if yakin, but in yakin you have taken the 6,000 steps, you counted it out, and then you reach a place where you're like, I don't see any water here, and you tayammum, tayammum. Okay. Even if it's a what? A local child. If you think they're not fooling with you, yeah, if you think that probably they are sincere in what they're saying, they say, yeah, I got water over there, got well over there. And you're like, they won't lie, right? and yeah, so depending on what on situation now, you have yakin. The whole point is your yakin, your heart. If your heart says no, I doubt, then you doubt lah. Okay, now so we have gone through all of these things. So there was summary of last week, Okay, then this week, when the distance extends beyond close limits of 6,000 steps, then it's allowed for him to perform tayammum wherever he's at, without having to go. It is preferred to postpone prayers. Postpone prayers meaning to the end of the prayer time, but not beyond the prayer time. Okay, don't think that postpone means pray after prayer time. It means okay, the prayer time has come in. Basically, you can only search for water when the prayer time has come in. Okay? Only search for water when the prayer time has come in. If the prayer time has not come in, you don't have to search for water at all. Unless you want to search for it just in case lah. Right? But basically you cannot tayammum before the prayer time has come in. Correct? So that means your search must have happened within the prayer time. Because the salat is not wajib on you until the prayer time comes in. And since the salat is not wajib on you until the prayer time comes in, the wudu is not wajib on you until the prayer time comes in. Kan? So in that way, right? So if the distance is beyond close limits of 6,000 steps, you can perform tayammum. It is preferred to postpone the prayers to the end of the prayer time, if he is certain that water will become available at the end of the prayer timing. So if he has yaqeen that right now Zuhur, what time is Zuhur? 1 o'clock. Okay, he knows that if I were to travel right now continuously and I don't stop, I will reach a lake by 3:30. Or even 3:45, almost asar already. But he's very certain he's going to reach for some water. By that time, then he is to not pray Zuhur yet until he finds the water. Then he takes the wudu there. But if he's sure that no matter, I can travel for 5 hours until Maghrib and I will not find any water whatsoever, then he can pray Zuhur at the beginning of the Zuhur prayer time by doing tayammum. But after searching, if he needs to search. So for example, if he's in the middle of a desert, Sahara, in the middle of a desert, looking left, right, front and back, or as far as the eye could see, you don't see any water whatsoever. So he is certain there is no water for as far as the eye can see. Right? So when Zuhur comes in, he does not have to actually search because he's certain there's no water. He can tayammum there and then and pray Zuhur there and then. Okay, can tayammum there and then and pray Zuhur there and then. And it all will go into the question of what if he does that, then at the end of the prayer time he finds water. Then must he redo his Zuhur? He's prayed Zuhur already at the beginning of the prayer time. Must he redo? It on the answer will come. Okay, I'll do it when I reach there. Okay, it is not obligatory on him to search to the limit of the river banks or close limit. River banks pula. ولا يجب طلبه في حد الغوص وحد القرب. I'm not sure why it says riverbanks here, because if there's a river, then you can just use the water of the river lah. Kan? Right. حد الغوص means the limit of crying for help. حد الغوص is the limit of crying for help. Okay, let me write it down. Okay, so remove the riverbanks. Not sure why it's there. Limit of crying for help. Right, which is basically 150 meters. Okay, or closed limits, which is 6,000 meters. Okay, that means it's not wajib for him to search this limit if, so this is not done yet. There's a full sentence, right? Unless he feels that he's at peace. That means he is safe on his own self, his wealth, and the group that he is with. And the prayer time will not pass. Right? That means 4 conditions. Okay? Safety on his own self, safety on his own wealth. He will not be separated from the group he's traveling with. Especially in the past, if you're separated from the group, it's the dangerous situation. You have a caravan, the caravan cannot be separated from the group. Even now, so if you're traveling with a group, like to Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, or whatever, to Vietnam, or whatever, if you're separated from your tour group, it's dangerous. What are you going to do? Kind of, you're going to be stranded. Correct? So you need to be separated from your group, because that's where your safety lies. And the prayer time will not pass. Okay, so if he feels that any of these things are threatened by him going to search for water, then it's not wajib for him to search for water. Okay, it's not wajib. So he searches for as far as he's able to confirm his safety. Okay, and the safety of his wealth. So if, let's say, for example, he has certainty there's water, in the jungles. So someone says in the jungle, and there's a river there, you can find water there. And they said, but there are bandits in the jungle. Very dangerous. I had to go into the jungle. And then the group says, we are not going to the jungle. And we're going to go this way, away from the jungle. But the person says, but it's just here, a few hundred meters. Like 100 meters only you can find water. For sure, it's just only 100 meters. But the group says, we're not going there, it's dangerous. And we're going to go this way. Right, so it's not wajib on him to actually separate from the group to get his water, because he's putting his life in danger. In Islam, the preservation of life, it is priority. Okay. Fiqh is very interesting, right? I mean, I hope you all appreciating fiqh. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, and it's like for me personally, I feel that fiqh itself is a dalil, is a proof of the truth of Islam. Because I don't know, Allah Alam, I'm not studying other religions, but I wonder if other religions have this kind of such detail in their law. So detailed. Like can any human being actually come up with this? It's so incredibly detailed, the laws in Islam. You can never end, studying fiqh. So I do wonder if other religions do they have like such detail in their law studies. It's about wudu already. This tahara ni, only in tahara. We're not gone into salat yet. Not even zakat, not even hajj. Haven't done any of the other parts. It's just the first part of Islam, which is tahara and salat. Inshallah. If the water found is not sufficient, then it's wajib to do whatever he's able to use the water for his wudu. Then proceed to perform dry ablution. This is based on the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whereby he said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whatever I command you to do, do of it to the best of your ability. Okay, his commandment, whatever I have commanded you to do, do of it to the best of ability. So in fiqh, you will have a running qaida. You have a running principle throughout fiqh that you are to do all your acts of obedience to the best of your ability. Which is why, even if somebody has a jabira, if they have a cast on their hand, like a cast, and they know their wudu will not be sufficient, they still have to wudu the parts they can wudu. By the principle of fiqh, to do as best as you can, then you can take any other forms of rukhsa or leeways in the religion. Alright, so same thing with standing in prayer, same thing with reciting the Fatiha, same thing, all of it to do the best of your ability. Then what you cannot perform, then you make up for it in other ways, or called out later on. So if you found small amount of water, then you must use that water to wash the face and as much as you can of your limbs, and then perform tayammum. Okay, and then perform tayammum. Must use the water first. Okay, and it is obligatory upon him to buy water at a reasonable price, provided he does not need the money to repay a huge debt that is compulsory for him to pay ASAP, or to be used for travel expenses or for respected animals. So that basically means animals that are sacred. Right, animals that their lives are sacred. We mentioned all animals fall under this category. All human beings fall under this category, except for the 6 you mentioned just now, 2 of which are animals and 4 are human beings. Okay, the kafir al-harbi is a kafir at war with Muslims. So not all disbelievers, right? So if a disbeliever is not at war with the Muslims, you don't have to prevent them from water, right? Even in the days to come. So if you have a vessel of water, right, and you need this water for the next 5 days, you'll be traveling for the next 5 days, and if you were to use this water for wudu, you will die, right? So basically all the animals around you will die because they need the water to drink. Okay, right? So I know someone once asked my teacher a question that, what if I do wudu, then I wudu into the vessel, right? So kind of do both, right? I can wudu and drink, correct? Of course, a lot of water is used to wet your facial your body, right? So if you have a bottle, this amount of water, right, you can wudu into a container, yes, but probably maybe where 1/8 of the water will be collected, right? The rest of it will be on your body. I mean, you won't be able to drink it, right? So basically, especially if you need the water in the days to come. Okay, now, so which is why if you are in your house, right, and then your water is cut off, the tap is cut off, water is cut off, you can't just say, oh, tayammum. No, you have to go down to the shop. I look at the shop, or look to your neighbors, ask them, is their water cut off? Can you get water from them? Or go downstairs, go to the shop, right? And if the water is a reasonable price, I mean it's not too expensive, then you should buy the water, right? If the money if you don't need the money for something more dire. So basically in Islam, it comes in levels, right? Of what is more important and what is more important, right? In that way. Okay, a huge debt would be a huge debt that is urgent. Okay, it's an urgent huge debt, right? But for most of us, our debts are not urgent. You can actually have time to pay it off, right? So or travel expenses, right? Otherwise you would not be able to survive. It's basically your survival is dependent on this money. Okay, now Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. And it is obligatory upon him to seek water as a gift and borrow a bucket without asking for the amount for him to buy or rent it, even though he needs the water for his respected livestock to drink, right? So here say وَيَجِبُ طَلَبُ الْهِبَةِ الْمَاءِ. So if somebody has water, to ask, do not be shy to ask people to give you water. وَاسْتِعَارَةُ دَلْوٍ دُونَ انْتِهَابِ ثَمَنِهِ. Right, so to borrow a bucket if there's a well nearby. ولو كان معه ماء يحتاج إليه لعطش حيوان محترم ولو في المستقبل ووجب تيمم. Right, so it is obligatory for him to do tayammum if the water is needed in the coming days. Right, so he needs to basically if someone has water, ask them if you can take their water. If you see a well and someone has a bucket, ask them. You must ask. So basically, this is fakie covers every angle. So someone will say, must I ask people to borrow their bucket? Can I just tayammum? No, you must go and ask. You must put in your best of your ability to get water, right? In this ways, in this case. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay. Alright, let's cover that one. Okay, now okay, that ends the first part of tayammum, which is looking for water. Okay, ends the first part of looking for water. The second part, inability to use water because of illness. Right, so if he if Okay, so here the Arabic ولا يتيمم للمرض إلا إذا خاف من استعمال الماء على نفسه. Right, so tayammum for the sick is only if water will harm the sick. Okay, tayammum on the sick is only if water will harm the sick. If the water will not harm the sick cannot perform tayammum. Right, so for example, if someone's in the hospital bed, difficult to go to the bathroom to take wudu, but water does not harm this person. It's just that you're wired up. You know, you're hooked up to the machines, hooked up to the tubes whatsoever. It's difficult to actually go and perform wudu at the bathroom. But water does not actually harm this person. It doesn't harm the person. So what should be done? They should seek help from someone to bring water to them. Right? And then even if it's a spray bottle, you can spray enough for the water to trickle. The water must trickle left to count as washing. Right? So they spray in abundance on the limbs of the person. Right? And it counts as wudu. Right? If the hospital tubes have a scotch tape, when they put in the drip and everything, right? They tape it to your skin. Correct? And you're unable to perform wudu because the tape is there. Right? And then if you try and remove it, like, a lot of problems if you try and remove the drip, which is why if it's not necessary to put in the drip, request from the staff not to put in the drip for you. Right? If they say it's a matter of precaution, then you say, but if they say I eat properly and I maintain my fluids, must I be on a drip? If they say don't really have to be on a drip, then avoid the drip. Because it will cost your wudu. Right? So, but if they force you on a drip, or you need the drip because of your condition, and then you wudu in that way, and the drip usually is on the forearm, right? Usually, and they put it on the forearm, not on the upper arm. Upper arm easier, and then you can just wudu easily. Right? They put a drip here, not here. But I think they're just gonna put it on your forearm. Then your wudu is deficient. Your tayammum is deficient, right? And then you have to qada your prayers, right? If they force a drip on you, usually that's the situation. It's because of the drip. Besides that, they usually don't put anything else on you. Maybe they put some oxygen in your nose, but that also can be removed, correct? So depending on what's going on. But in this case, the drip is not. There's no tayammum. It's basically the story of in this case, you're doing tayammum because of there being a barrier on the skin. And not because it's the illness is made worse by water, but it's because it's something that's stopping water from touching the skin. Okay, this situation, right, is if a person's illness itself is affected by water. So, for example, a skin disease, right, which happened to me before when I was in Tarim. I had a terrible some form of eczema. I don't know what it was, but on my feet. And my husband the same thing also on his shin, on his calf. And we realized that this illness, it's spread by water. And so the more the water carried the I don't know what it was. Maybe it was some sort of infection or some sort of bacteria or even virus, whatever it was. The water was carrying it from his body parts to other body parts, and this thing will grow in his other body parts. It's a terrible illness that happened. So we realized the water was doing it. The water was a medium of movement for the bacteria, right, to spread in the body. So if they know, for sure, the water will harm the person's self, or the water will lead to a loss of body part function, or the water will prolong the disease. Which for me, that happened to me one time when I had eczema in Tarim. I realized that for as long as water touched there was a huge bubble of pus that was growing on my feet, and I realized that for as long as water touched it, it would never cure. It got worse. The water kept it alive, but when I got into my menses, it dried up, and then it began to cure. And then I realized that I have to actually maintain dryness on my feet for at least 3 weeks. Then it left. It actually went away. Right? But for as long as I kept washing my feet, the thing stayed there. It was thriving on water. So the water actually prolonged the disease. or in the case where it will cause scars on the visible parts of the body, right? So the water is causing the illness to continue, or the scar, or the jarah, the cut to continue, right? And then it will cause a it will cause a scar, right, on the face or something. The water does that. Right, on the scar. So then for this kind of situation, a person is allowed to perform tayammum instead of performing wudu. In the kind of situation, the tayammum is complete because it's not a matter of the cast, right, not a matter of the bandage, but they can actually tayammum on the skin itself, right? So the tayammum is complete. There is no qada for them to do. Do they do wudu? Yes, they do wudu on the parts of the body that can take water, right? So they do wudu. So for example, when my feet had that kind of terrible eczema, I would do wudu on my hair, on my face, on my arms, on my head. Okay, then I will wudu the top of my feet. I'm very, very careful because the moment that the disease can water on it, it will not cure. Right, so I will do the top of my feet, and then I will do the bottom of my feet carefully around the illness. Right, the water cannot touch it. Right, and then I will do tayammum because of that. Right, and then is there any qada on me? No qada. Right, because there is no bandage to talk about. Alright, so that when one can perform dry ablution due to cold, and so basically, if you do it in that way lah. But if there's bandage and everything, then we go into the entire mas'ala of bandage, which we went through in Safin Najah. Right? We went through the entire mas'ala of bandage, about the 4 situations whereby must qada, then the 2 whereby they have to qada. If you remember what they are. Okay. One cannot perform dry ablution or tayammum due to cold weather except when one does not gain any benefit from his own body heat. So meaning that wala yatayammamu li bardi illa idha lam tanfa' tadfi'atu a'da'ihi. Right, so walam yajid ma yusakhinu bihil ma. Right, so if the water, they're going in double negations, so I'm going to just rephrase the entire thing, because Arabic tends to go in double negation. So you tend to like, oh, wait, don't understand, because they will negate. That's the way they speak in Arabic, and they will negate, right, twice. So basically, right, you can tayammum, right, because of cold weather, right, if you don't need the heat of your body. Let me just try to rephrase that. Okay, if you need the heat of your body, right, you can choose to tayammum in cold weather, because the water will take away the heat of your body that you need. Alright? So let me give you an example. Someone's in the desert, right? It is only from their body heat that they are surviving. Only from their body heat they are surviving. If they wash themselves with water at this point in time, and the water is freezing cold, right, they will lose their body heat to the water, and this will harm them. Okay, so in that situation, and on condition they cannot find anything to warm up the water, so in that situation, can they tayammum? Yes, and because on the principle that Islam does not cause harm. Okay, Islam does not call for us to harm ourselves on that condition. Okay, if someone was in a cold country but have heater in their room, okay, no problem, have heater in their room, so they're not dependent on their body heat, but they have something to actually heat themselves up with, right? Can they tayammum? Of course not. Because the water that is placed on them, even though it is cold, they are not dependent on their body heat. There's something else that's keeping them warm, right? Or they are able to warm up the water in some way. Okay, understand? Right, so then in that situation, they can only tayammum if they need their body heat and they can't afford for the water to take their body heat, right? And they're unable to heat up the water, so it will harm them to use the cold water. Right, or he's afraid of losing bodily functions or the occurrence of visible scars. Right, so like for example, using very cold water that will cause the fingers to freeze up. right? And then go into become frozen now, the fingers in very, very harsh cold climates, right? So that one can cause for even if the person has something to warm himself up with, right, but using water will be harmful for the person. So it's on the principle that it's harmful. The water is harmful. So in that situation, tayammum. Okay, tayammum. Right. So and when he is and when he also fears it's going to be visible scars. Visible scars will be what is on the face. This is called visible scar. What is on the face. Beyond the face is not counted as visible because you can wear clothing over it. So it's what's on the face. So if you know that if he wears this part of his face, the nose will get broken off, for example. In very harsh climates, the nose could get broken off. Right, so he knows if you put water there, it's going to freeze, or it's going to freeze his eyelids, and he can't open his eyelids. It's going to be terrible lah. It's a terrible situation. Right, then he can avoid and do, and he can go ahead and perform tayammum. Okay, so how does he perform tayammum? Again, with the principle of fiqh. What is the principle of fiqh? To do as much as you can of the original. Okay, to do as much as you can of the original. So what is the original? Wudu. Wudu is original. Wudu is the foundation, is the basis, is what is original. So to do of wudu as much as you can. So when he is afraid to apply water to some parts of the body, he should apply water on what is healthy. Like what can take water. So that's how I mentioned just now. So when I got the illness on my feet, right, I would wash my face, I will wash my arms, I'll wipe my head, and then I'll wash the top part of my feet, then very carefully wash the bottom part of my feet without touching the illness. Okay, that is wajib on me to do. I cannot just go and perform tayammum. I must do this entire thing first. So wash the healthy body parts, then perform tayammum on the face and the hands, in place of washing the injured part of the body. So you don't put sand on the injured part, right? But you perform tayammum. So as mentioned earlier on, that when I say perform zuhur, it means what? 4 rakats. When I say do sujud sahwi, it means what? Do two sujud sahwi, right? Two times sujud. When I say pray janazah prayer, it means what? Standing and 4 takbirs. I don't have to tell you what it is. It's understood. So when I say do tayammum on the parts that cannot touch water, what do? Wipe sand on your face and arms. That is a definition of tayammum. So don't wipe sand on the body part, right? But wipe sand on the face and the arms. Okay, that is what tayammum is. Okay, and when he's in a state of or instead of being ritually impure, he can proceed with whatever he wishes, either doing tayammum or bathing. That is the sequence. So basically why he's mentioning this is because when you're doing wudu, right? So for wudu, you perform wudu first. So when you reach the part of your body whereby you cannot wash, you wash around it, and then you perform tayammum after that. Okay, so wudu first and then tayammum. Alright? And then if you come to another part of your body but you cannot wash, you wash around that part and then you tayammum on that. So for every part you're unable to wash of your wudu of your wudu limbs, you are to perform a tayammum on behalf of that part. Okay, on behalf of that part. As opposed to the bath. Right, so for the compulsory bath, so for example, I finished my menses. So maybe it happened to me also when I had my appendix removed. Right, so I was having my menses when my appendix I went to the operation to remove my appendix. Right, so when I came back, I had there was a dressing, right, on my abdomen because they did the operation. So now, okay, I finished my menses. I can go and bathe. Right, so if I bathe, right, they say, okay, don't wet that part. Okay, the part can touch water. So what? I bathe around it. Yes, I bathe around it. Then I perform tayammum. So in this situation, there is no compulsion of order. I can perform tayammum first and then perform my bath, or I can perform my bath and then perform tayammum. For wudu, you must do wudu. You must wash that part of that organ first as much as you can, then perform tayammum, then come back to your wudu. Okay, but for bath you can do either one first. It doesn't matter, right? So you can do tayammum first, then you can do the bath, or do the bath and tayammum. And in that situation, because for myself, the cast or the bandage or the dressing was placed when I was not on tahara, that means I have to qada, right? I have to still qada my prayers, so I took it off anyway. And then there's a scar there, whatever, it's on my abdomen, right? So it's not an apparent scar. So for me, I didn't care that it caused a scar. And when he is in a state of minor impurity, he performs tayammum when he reaches the part of the body which is injured. Okay, right. So to go through the sequence, if let's say I have an injury on my face, so I was someone going to an accident, injury on the face, injury on the arm, injury on the foot, right? Injury in these three parts. So they begin doing their wudu. So when they do their wudu, they do around the injury. Cannot touch water, right? Do around the injury, and then do tayammum. Continue the wudu. Do the arms. Do around the injury. Do tayammum. Continue with the wudu. Wipe the head. Right, and then now wash the feet. Do around the injury. And then go and do tayammum. Okay. So now whether you have to qada or not qada depends on, is there a bandage on the wound? And is the tayammum complete or not complete? Can the tayammum go over the wound or can it not? Then there comes into our situations of qada, right, with regards to tayammum. Okay, so now let's just say a lot more of tayammum. Okay, a bit more. Okay, we'll finish it. We'll finish it up. We'll finish this part of tayammum. So basically, if he is able to remove the bandage, right, he should remove the bandage. Okay. So if he's able to remove the bandage, he must remove the bandage. If he's afraid to remove the bandage, then he clean only the body parts which are healthy, and then wipe over the bandage, right, with water, and then do tayammum later on. Right, if you can wipe over it with water. If he performs tayammum to replace in place of the body part that's under the bandage, not to replace, but in place of the body part that's under the bandage, by wiping his face and hands, is obligatory upon him to make up his prayers when the bandage is put on, when not in the state of purity. These are all the situations of the Jabira, which inshallah you all know about, right? All in your Safinatun Najah. When the bandage is put on his face or his hands, he has to do a qada. It is obligatory for him to make up his prayers when dry ablution is performed due to coldness, right? So if tayammum is done because of coldness, then it's also, you have to qada. When he does tayammum in the absence of water when he's traveling, and those who are traveling, so when he performs tayammum, okay, the translation a bit off. أو يتيمم لفقد الماء في الحضر والمسافر العاصي بسفر. تمام. Okay, there's a mistake in the translation. Okay, tell Ustad later on. Okay, so when he performs tayammum in the absence of water, not when he's traveling, right? When he is in his hometown, right? So for example, you're in Singapore, your hometown, or in a place whereby there should be water. Okay, hometown or in a place whereby there should be water, but you can't find water, right? So they cut off the water supply, and you have no choice. You try to search for water, you're going to find water. No choice but to perform tayammum. You must qada. These prayers kena qada, right? So while tayammum is sah, it's valid, but because usually in this place there is water. Usually there is water. So therefore, must you qada? Yes, must qada. Right? And then those who are traveling to commit a sin, if they're traveling somewhere to go and, gamble or zina or whatever, so they are sinners in their travel. Travel itself is sinning. Or a woman who traveled without the permission of her wali, of her husband, right? Sinning in her travel. Right? Anyone who is sinning, right, their travel is a form of sin, right? They don't get to enjoy any of the leniencies of travel. They cannot jama', they cannot qasar, they cannot tayammum, they cannot break their fast. They are not allowed any of the leniencies of travel. For the one who is asi bis-safar, that means their travel itself is dosa. Okay, their travel itself is sinful for them to have done that. They don't get any of the leniencies of the religion at all. It's dangerous, mashallah. I know of women who travel to KL, they travel to parts of Malaysia without their husband's knowledge nor permission. And if they were to do jama' or qasr of the zuhur and the asar, the zuhur and the asar all not counted. All tak sah. Because they're not allowed the rukhsa of the religion. They're not allowed. Because they have traveled without their husband's permission. So that they are sinning in their travel. I know of women who actually do this. They actually travel, because in Singapore it's easy, what? You say I'm going out with my friends and then go Malaysia. I mean, technically, right? You can just go across the bridge and go Johor. Can? You're already in Johor already. And then your husband is at work the whole day. But then you come back, he's back also. He has no clue that your passport has been chopped. Correct. Technically, you can travel without his knowledge. But dosa. And sinful, and they're not allowed any of the rukhsas of the religion. They cannot have any of the leniencies of the religion. Okay, so this one about the Jabira, inshallah, let's see. I've gone through with you all before, actually. If you all remember, when must qada. The last part of this chapter is about when must qada, the prayer, right? So I would like for you all to revise. Okay, revise when you have to qada for the prayer. I'm just do a very quick one, since we're already here, might as well. Right, and then I'll end the class, inshallah. Okay, so when must we qada the prayer? So again, this is all revision, You all should be okay with this. Okay, revision. When must you qada the prayer? Okay, must qada. Right, no qada. Okay, just now you can actually list down when you tayammum because of cold, when you tayammum in your local town, when you tayammum in a place whereby there is water usually. Okay, the first three covered. Okay, when it's cold in your local town, when in a place whereby there is usually water, but for that particular day you couldn't find water. Okay, that's the first three. So 1, 2, 3, you should know. Okay, I already mentioned. Okay, with regards to the bandage. Okay, if bandage on tayammum limbs, I put tayammum limbs, TL, tayammum limbs. Okay, if bandage on tayammum limbs, must qada. No matter what, doesn't matter whether it is placed on tahara or hadas or whatever, doesn't matter. The moment the bandage is on a tayammum limb, must qada. It's on a principle that tayammum not complete. So even if there's no bandage but there is a wound, if you're unable to tayammum over the wound, you still have to qada. Okay, the tayammum must be complete. Okay, if bandage is not on tayammum limb, right? If bandage is not on tayammum limb, right? Then there are conditions. Mustn't take more than needed, to hold it. Okay, second one, place on tahara. Okay, you must the what holds it there must not take off the healthy skin more than what is needed to hold it there. So if it takes more than it, then must qada. Okay, so we have must qada if it takes more than what is needed. I paste on not tahara, hadas. Okay, no qada, remember, and this is basically a general rule. So no qada is first and foremost not on tayammum limbs. That's the first condition, right? Does not take from healthy skin. Not take any part of the healthy skin, or no bandage, right? But you cannot wudu that place lah, technically. But it's not on a tayammum limb, meaning it's on your foot. It's on your foot. Does not take off the healthy skin at all, or there's no bandage to begin with, right? No need, right, to place on tahara. Remember, right? So that means this is your foot, right? And there is the wound is here. The wound is here. Okay. So you wudu around the wound, right? You wudu where? You wudu around the wound. Around the wound. So your wudu is not complete. It's not wudu around the wudu is not complete. But there was no bandage, or the bandage only took the place of the wound and no more than that. In that case, they have to be on tahara also, because it's not touching any of the healthy skin. So if you remember principles, fakie is very easy. If you remember principles, okay. I hope you're following me. The second one is if or takes only what is needed. It means it covers to hold it there. So you put a tiny bit of bandage, only enough to hold it there, then must be placed on tahara. Right? But under this condition, okay, not on tayammum limb. Not on tayammum limb. The moment it's on tayammum limb, they don't talk about anything at all. Qada. Okay? Right, so it takes a tiny bit of the healthy skin to hold the bandage there, right? And you're unable to remove it. Then you wash around it. You tayammum your face and your hands. Do have to qada. Okay, so I hope we all have. So we went through before, right? In Sifin Najah. Hope it's clear. So inshallah, I'll include that last part into the exam. Just so that you will. And the more you take now, the less you take later on. Eventually, every chapter has to be taken for the exam. Right, so it's a matter of that lah. Okay, are there any questions? So up, yes. Okay, if you know for sure the water will harm you, then yes, wajib, because you are not allowed to harm your body. Okay, it's haram to bring harm to your own self. Okay. Okay, لا يتيمم للمرض إلا إذا خاف من استعمال ماء. So it is based on the fear. The fear must be based on knowledge. So a doctor must have told you that water, or by experience. So for me, it wasn't a doctor, but by experience, I realized that the water was doing harm. Okay, so either by proof, right, or by a doctor, or by experience. But if there's no proof whatsoever the water is harming you, then you cannot. Okay. Any other questions?